to give you guys a quick background on myself, I've been in the space for about 8 years. Most of the time has been in the liquid markets, and it's been a real pleasure to kind of see the token events grow in the last few years. It'd be great if you could do a quick intro as well.
Yeah, welcome everybody. My name is Christian Angermayer. I'm running my own family office, Apeiron. We have a very broad mandate. I'm always intellectually saying I'm investing in companies and projects which personally I'm excited about. If I want to say it a little bit funny, I always so really say it's things which get you laid at a date because they are very exciting. We have 4 themes. Crypto is obviously the biggest one. The second one is biotech, which is the industry I actually started in 27 years ago as a young founder. Then we do a lot of deep tech in general, from AI to space tech. And we have one bricks and mortar pocket, hospitality, because my big belief is over the next 10 years, human, talking about meaning, will stop working practically. So we're investing in everything where people will spend their time in the future, from very banal things like hotels and hotel brands. We own the largest live entertainment business in Europe and stuff like that. That's the overview. So we can talk about a lot of things. The favorite one is psychedelics, if you want to talk about that. That's what I really want to be known for, but we come to that for sure.
100%. And that's a perfect segue into Mind, right? So, between your different business ventures, I was here yesterday with Paolo from Tether. You have, kind of joint vested interest in BlackRock Neurotech and, that kind of business and in the BCI space. And, you're deeply involved in that world. And then you're also involved on Atai doing, working on psychedelics, working in the biotech space broadly. How does this all fit in together for you?
But there's many ways to, really, as I said before, really, like I had my first company, or I started my first company when I was 19. It went public when I was 23. So I was sitting there and was looking at my life and was like, I'm coming from a very ordinary family. I grew up in a 100-people village in Bavaria in Germany. So I was like, what do I want to do in life? Because I sort of, from my back then, sort of thinking about what is a lot of money, I was like, oh, I made it. Yeah. And I was like, I just want to do exciting things, because why should you not do that? Like, I don't even understand why people would do things which are boring or they don't like. So that's sort of one thing. I'm just looking at the world. I'm a very big optimist. I think the future will be awesome, and I just want to be involved building it. So then there's the more philosophical part, which, because a lot of people asking, oh, is there any connection between crypto and for example, all the neuroscience stuff we're doing? And I think there is one. I think crypto people are inherently libertarian, or at least a lot of us. And if you are libertarian, there is obviously the political thing to talk about, but there is more, like what else is restricting you in life? And there's 2 things. The one is like we're all aging, and somewhen, at least for now, we're gonna die. And it sucks. Yeah, I think that nobody, like, we don't talk about it, but like, it's, first of all, by the way, if you look at neuroscience, is one of the big traumatizing things in your life is that you're, and our culture is deliberately bad, or the Western culture, to not sort of talk about it. But also it's something which is opposed on us from the outside, and at least for now, we feel we can't stop it. So that's why in biotech, half of our business is focused on longevity, so how to slow down, hopefully someone reverse aging, and by that, to pushing life expectancy dramatically. So my dream is that even in my lifetime or my lifespan, we're coming to a point where we're living that long that we want to die somewhere, but deliberately and voluntarily, because I think that's the ultimate libertarian dream. I want to live this amazing life as long as I can. And then when I don't want it anymore, I call it a quit. So that's the one big, I would say, inhibitor, aging and dying. But there is another one, which is maybe even more important, and that is conceptually your ego. You might say, what is he talking about? But like, if you look at like all the problems you might think you have, 90% of them are not really relevant worrying about. So your ego, which is a very vital part of your brain. And by the way, the fascinating thing in the brain is, and that's why we focus on it in biotech since like the last 10 years, we finally started understanding it. Till like 10 years ago, the brain was the one unknown thing in our body. We learned a lot over the last 30 years about the rest, but the brain was completely not understood. And we started with new imaging technologies, whatever, we started to understanding the brain. There is a part in your brain which is called the ego, which is very vital. It's the one which makes you get up. It's the one which wants you to succeed. So it has many, many, many vital functions, but also a lot of your pain and trauma of your life is coming from that part, because that's the part who's constantly saying, oh, all the others are more successful, you're a loser, whatever.
Right.
So if I look at mental health, the ego is the problem. And psychedelics, if I make it very short, help you mastering your ego and realizing that you are not your ego. Your ego is a subpart of you, but there is something much bigger. And it sounds very simple, but if you take one thing away of that, think about that later. There are great books about it, because if you master that, if you turn the hierarchy around, if not your ego is controlling your life, but if your bigger self, whatever you want to call it, I can go in the spiritual direction, I can go more in the psychological direction, call it soul, call it subconsciousness, or call it your mind. When you master your ego and see it as a part of you, but not as your master, you have a much happier life. And that's what we're doing a lot with psychedelics.
I mean, and I think it's like when we go from talking about psychedelics, right, and the portfolio companies that you manage, and I haven't seen anyone who runs a family office. I mean, it's even kind of crude to call Apeiron a family office in the way that you're so involved with every founder that you work with. You're so involved in every one of the companies that you're behind. How do you think about it? Now you have such a big role in crypto as well. How do you think about, the different ways that these things can interconnect? And we're going to move into the money topic as well.
Well, one thing is again, I like to do, I'm still a founder. So for example, Atai, the psychedelics company I've mentioned, I founded. I started with our friend Paul together, Plasma, a new stablecoin purpose-built for, a new blockchain. Yeah, purpose-built for stablecoins,
Right.
the other way around. And so I like still to start companies, because that's actually what I want to do, which I saw on a psychedelic trip. Like, I want to create things, like I want to create experiences with our hotels. I want to create companies, and I like to be as much involved as I can. So I'm not the operator. For Plasma, for example, Paul is amazing. So I'm trying to use my network, but also what I've learned, like I have this sort of helicopter view. What I've learning sometimes, even in biotech, you can apply it in crypto and try to be a good mentor for my co-founders and portfolio companies.
100%. And I guess, moving into the crypto world now, into the money aspect of this conversation, you've always been in crypto. You've been in crypto for what, a decade now, maybe more almost.
No, 10 years, 9 years. Yeah.
And now you're moving in more, aggressively into this space. What's the future for what you're working on within crypto? You're deeply involved with Plasma. We were here yesterday again with Paul and Paolo. Paolo, the co-founder of Tether, and Paul, with the co-founder of Plasma. What's that engagement look like? What is the goal for Plasma? What's the goal for your, work in the crypto space?
First of all, a very banal sentence in tech is just solve problems which are in front of you. And together with Paolo, we realized that obviously stablecoins are a newer thing. A lot of the big chains are older, so none of the big blockchains where, for example, Tether, but also other stablecoins are resting on, have been purposely built for stablecoins, because they were not there yet. So we just really went with Paolo through hey, how does the perfect chain look like? Where Tether wants to be on, and we're like, okay, let's make notes, and very simplified. That's how Plasma started. So we just want to solve problems. I'm very with Paolo talking again, which is a very big topic in my portfolio, about freedom. That crypto in general, but especially stablecoins, and hence indirectly Plasma, can sort of really help, especially people in the global south. You heard it surely here a lot, but there are still billions of people who are kind of enslaved by their governments, by their systems, because they don't have access to financial innovation. So I think really it's not just it sounds always so it's a PR agency has written it, but I really mean it. Crypto has or plays at least a very vital role in helping people to get sort of control of their own destiny. And again, Plasma is a little bit the facilitator for that. I also think we're at a very I told it to you in the car, but I want to bring it up because especially when you build a new chain like Plasma, a lot of people come and it's like, oh, you want to steal business from that chain, and oh, and you're attacking that one. And I mean, that is really sad. That's the one thing I want to tell everybody who works in crypto, with a little bit of psychedelic. But again, I don't want to be cheesy, but like if I look at it, we're just at this amazing inflection point where I think crypto gonna positively explode because like finally real life big sort of applications, money streams, whatever, are coming to crypto. So that means the cake is really growing. So, and I just learned this new term, and it's a sad term because I was never really a gamer, like this player versus player. That's what everybody's bringing up when we say, oh, we start a new chain. Oh, you, again, player versus player. I was like, no, because I don't want to take things away from somebody else. I want to build something where the future growth, for example, if you look at Tether, I deeply believe Tether will have hundreds of billions. They already have 150, but they're going to have hundreds of billions very soon. And obviously, I want that a big portion of that growth is on Plasma, but that's what I want. The new business, the new volume being on my chain. I don't want to take it away from somebody. If somebody says, hey, I like Plasma more than X and moves over, happy, but we shouldn't have as an industry that player versus player mode. We should have a player with player mode because our industry is really taking off, and it doesn't make sense that we pit each other against each other. Like, rather let's grab it from other TradFi sectors, whatever.
Right, and I guess that's the takeaway. PvP to PWP.
Exactly.
Player
that's
with
the new
player.
thing.
Right, and I guess that segues really nicely into the meaning aspect of this, which we talked about with the psychedelics. We talked about a little bit with BCIs, right? But so much of your kind of involvement now is also in the political game too, which is not really talked about, but is massively interesting, right? Like what's going on in Africa, what's going on in kind of what you're focused on in these different countries. Talk a little bit about, if you can, the way that psychedelics and also the money aspect of crypto is kind of uplifting that meaning for you in these places that generationally have been traumatized from a lack of financial inclusion.
Yeah, so I'm very proud. I'm the economic and political advisor for a very dear friend. So he's primarily a friend, the president of Rwanda. I think Africa, first of all, is the future, but Africa suffers from, in some places, from sort of political elites holding their people really hostage. Rwanda always has been, even without crypto, has been sort of the shining example, the positive example, what Africa actually can be with a great leadership. For the ones, by the way, first of all, I haven't been. I can just say Rwanda is kind of my second home. It's one of the most beautiful countries to go. It has these, on the one side, very horrifying, sad history because they had a genocide which my friend ended, but then sort of turned it into these sort of amazing turnaround. No word does justice a genocide. I try to make it really respectful, but in a positive, very positive way. It's practically like it's Singapore in Africa, like zero crime, zero corruption, everything is clean. And the most important thing I would say, again, coming to more the mind, he has given a country where 1 million people died within 4 weeks out of 14. He has given the people meaning and a future, and also like hope and sort of respect for themselves back, by the way, embracing new things. Like Rwanda is a technology hub. They very early on crypto. We're working on implementing stable coins, in government payments within Rwanda with other governments. So that shows you need both, by the way. So I think, again, like what I'm trying to do for my portfolio, but also for my thing, is always a holistic approach. It's never, at least for the big problems, that one thing will solve it. Stable coins, for example, play a role, but you also need great leadership. If the leadership sucks, yes, they might make it a bit better, but in the ideal world, everything comes together. You have great leadership in a country, you embrace technology, you have financial inclusion, and so on. But Rwanda, whoever wants to go, do it. It's amazing. They have the last mountain gorillas, which is nature-wise amazing. And it's a good example as well to see how technology can be at work.
Yeah, and one of the first things you told me was, I asked, what was your motivation to, keep going and keep kind of like traveling and going to conferences and events and meeting people and doing all this work? And you said, there's never enough resources, never enough money, never enough to do all of the things that you want. And I think of the people that I know and the people that I've, studied, there's no one who really has as big of a ambitious kind of palette to say, you know what, I want to, fix the political system in a country while also making, millions of people kind of free from them, from their lower self in a way, and then also at the same time work towards an environment that financial inclusion is possible. So, it's an honor to be your friend, and it's an honor to share the stage with you. And I sincerely appreciate it, Christian.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
the simple answer is, by the way, last question. I think we need to end. I think it's looking like. But again, and by the way, I want to make one compliance statement, which is very important. My lawyers told me that. No, on a serious note, we're working when we talk about psychedelics. We had other talks, and hopefully next talk we do more. I'm meaning like the medical use of psychedelics. So if you know the term, it's what they colloquially call magic mushrooms, psilocybin, DMT, 5-MeO DMT. My company Atai is bringing back those substances into the medical world,
Right.
As treatment for mental health issues, fully FDA approved. We just finished phase 3 for psilocybin. The others are shortly behind. So I'm not advocating, because I really mean it, for like party use, like. Truth is, it's much healthier than alcohol. However, I'm advocating because that is what really is giving you the upside I just described for a therapeutic use with therapists together. You can call the therapist a shaman, but with some guide who really opens up the full potential. But then they also have, by the way, there's a whole other topic of, if you look it up, it's called neuroplasticity. They're not just giving you the mental health, but also they really rejuvenate. Now, most of you are young, but your brain somewhere starts aging at the age of 30. In terms of that, you're narrowing down. And it's sad, because you shouldn't. You should always be as open for the world as you have been when you were 20. And that's one of the positive side effects psychedelics give you. They keep you on your feet to want to be part of the future. Okay, I think we need to stop, otherwise they kill us.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christian.